What's going on, everyone? My name is Jemiah McKinney, or you can just call me Juice because that is my nickname. So today, I am bringing you guys my official Jameis Winston film analysis video. Now, the biggest question that I want to answer when watching Jameis Winston's film is, why does he turn the football over so much? What's going on? I went back and watched every single snap that Jameis Winston took from this past year, and I'm going to sum up in 4 words why Jameis Winston turns the football over so much. All over the place. There are a lot of reasons as to why Jameis Winston throws a lot of interceptions. Sometimes the ball comes out of his hand weird. Sometimes it's due to bad throwing mechanics. He doesn't always throw a tight spiral. He has accuracy issues. Sometimes he's not the most accurate quarterback. In fact, a lot of times he's not very accurate. His decision making is very questionable. He will force the ball into coverage when it doesn't need to happen. Jameis Winston really struggles to read defenses, and that causes him to throw a lot of bad interceptions. He gets baited into a lot of throws. As I mentioned, his decision making is just not that good, and ultimately, we have to keep it $150 right here. Jameis Winston has a lot of things that he needs to clean up. And one of those things is his accuracy issues. He really struggles at times with accuracy, and that causes him to overthrow wide receivers, sometimes leading to a lot of interceptions. Let's dive into some of his biggest problems. As you can see, versus the New York Giants, he's going to get the snap. Wide receiver is wide open, and he just flat out misses. Inaccurately thrown football, it gets picked off as a result. Versus the 49ers, same thing right here. Jameis Winston's going to get the snap, and he misses badly, and that causes a pick 6 to go the other way. Versus the Tennessee Titans, he's going to get the snap, and he overthrows everyone, and it gets picked off by the defender. Let's break down this play versus the Saints in the red zone. He's going to throw to the wide receiver circle on your screen. It's actually going to be Mike Evans right here. He's going to be on your top right. So he gets the snap, and it's a bad pass. It's just a badly thrown ball right there. Let's break this down. What Jameis Winston needs to do in this situation is one of 2 things. Either throw it up to where only Mike Evans can get the football, and honestly, you kind of just need to throw that up. Mike Evans has several inches on the defender. That defender can only jump so high to reach Mike Evans' level. Okay, so if you just throw it up and give Mike Evans a chance, I guarantee you 9 times out of 10, he comes down with that football. Also, if Jameis Winston decides not to do that, then that means he needs to throw to the outside shoulder of Mike Evans. He threw that way too far to the inside. That was just an easy interception for the defender. I know that the snap kind of surprised Jameis right here. As you're watching on your screen, it kind of surprised him. He kind of rushed this throw, you could tell. But it was just a badly thrown pass and the wrong type of pass in which he threw right here. Another thing that really concerns me about Jameis Winston is the fact that he just does not see the field very well. He really struggles to read defenses, as I mentioned earlier. Let's break down this play versus the Colts. Circle on your screen is linebacker Darius Leonard. Pay attention to him throughout this entire play. He's in the middle of a 5-man defensive front for the Colts. There are going to be 2 other linebackers that are going to blitz later in this play once it develops. And the Colts are going to bring 6 players to rush Jameis Winston and try to get after the quarterback. Darius Leonard, as you can see on your screen, as this play develops, is going to drop back into coverage at the very last second. And guess what? Jameis Winston doesn't see him, and he gets picked off as a result. Jameis Winston has to be able to recognize these things. He has to be able to recognize the entire field, and at times he just really fails to do this, man. And as you can see right here versus the Detroit Lions, a linebacker is right in front of the wide receiver. And Jameis Winston, for whatever reason, throws the football anyway. I don't understand why Jameis Winston even decided to make this throw. That's just a bad decision. And then you're going to see on a very similar play versus the Colts, Mike Evans is going to run a deep dig route. The Colts are playing zone coverage. And the linebacker Darius Leonard, you notice him once again? Yeah, he's lurking the entire time. Jameis gets the snap, and he just doesn't see the linebacker flashing across the middle of the field. Either he saw him and decided to make the throw anyway, or he just didn't see him and gets picked off. Either way, it's a bad throw and just a bad decision whether Jameis saw him or not. And once again, you're going to see a similar play versus the Panthers on your screen. Luke Kuechly across the middle of the field. That's a disaster, and that's a throw that you cannot consistently make in the NFL if you see a linebacker right there lurking over the middle of the field. Now, I will admit, there were actually a good amount of interceptions that were not on Jameis Winston this past year. And in fact, Jameis Winston is always going to have a high number of interceptions, at least higher than most quarterbacks, simply because of his playing style. Jameis Winston is a risk taker. He loves to push the football down the field. He's a gunslinger. And gunslingers at times tend to throw more interceptions because they are attempting much more difficult passes and they are throwing the football consistently into coverage down the field. So that's one thing. And there were also some tip passes that didn't go in Jameis Winston's favor that led to some interceptions. Sometimes him and the wide receivers just weren't on the same page, ultimately. So not all 30 of Jameis Winston's interceptions were in fact his fault. But in reality, a lot of them were. There's a reason why Jameis Winston was 27th among 32 starting quarterbacks as far as completion percentage goes. Once again, he ranked 27th out of 32 starting quarterbacks in completion percentage this past season. He just isn't that accurate. I can't stress that enough. He really does have some accuracy concerns, okay? And Jameis Winston, one of the reasons why his accuracy is just not up to par with some of these elite quarterbacks in the NFL is simply because he just struggles to throw the ball with touch. He sometimes only has a fastball. When Jameis Winston has to take something off his fastball and loft a ball over defensive backs and linebackers' heads and just float the ball into a wide receiver's breadbasket, at times he just can't do it. Sometimes he's not even close. And that's a concern. If you can't throw the ball with touch consistently down the field, and if you can't take something off your fastball consistently, then you're really going to struggle with accuracy. That's just the reality of playing the quarterback position. Now, I know there are going to be some people that are going to say, well, Jameis Winston threw for a lot of yards this year. You can only criticize him so much. And I will admit, I'm closer to getting to all the good plays that Jameis made. But in reality, after watching the film, I'm just overall not that impressed. I'm not surprised that his numbers were very good last season. You want to know why? Because in reality, Jameis Winston's job was honestly not that hard. He had a lot of help on the outside of wide receiver. His wide receivers were consistently wide open. His wide receivers did not struggle to create separation at all. He always had an open target down the field somewhere. There was always someone flashing open every time I looked at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver core. And at times, a lot of things were made easy for Jameis Winston. He had a lot of easy reads, and at times his first read came open very often. To keep it a $150 with you guys, and to give you the honest truth, a lot of quarterbacks actually could have done better than what Jameis Winston did this past season. And that's saying a lot because he threw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdown passes. But I guarantee you, a lot of these quarterbacks, most of the top 10 quarterbacks, if you put them in that system, they are not throwing 30 interceptions. They are not missing the throws that Jameis Winston missed. He left a lot of plays on the field to be desired. If you put a top 10 quarterback in the Buccaneers offense this past season, not only are they scoring a lot of points, this team is probably a playoff team. The perfect fit for the Buccaneers offense, to keep it a $150 with you guys, and to be honest with you, was Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers Oh my God, with his gunslinging mentality and his ability to take care of the football while still killing you down the field and making big plays in the pocket, he's the perfect fit for that Buccaneers offense and what Bruce Arians wants to do. Not Jameis Winston, who lacks attention to detail, who missed so many throws and killed the Buccaneers in so many ways with his turnovers and poor decision making. And honestly, after watching the film, I believe Tom Brady is going to dominate in the Buccaneers offensive system this upcoming season. The reason why is because Tom Brady is efficient. He doesn't turn the football over as much as Jameis Winston. He's way better reading defenses. He will always find the open man, which is something that Jameis Winston struggled to do. He gives you great attention to detail, which is what the entire Buccaneers offense lacked this past season. And that is a reflection of their quarterback, Jameis Winston, because ultimately you kind of take on the personality of your quarterback and your quarterback's habits. The Buccaneers were a team that lacked attention to detail, and I think that Tom Brady is going to bring that attention to detail to that football team next year. And Tom Brady is also great at throwing the football with touch, something that Jameis Winston is not great at doing. He does not throw the ball consistently with touch very well. He's not a surgeon in the pocket like Tom Brady. Now, I want to address the Buccaneers offensive line. The Buccaneers offensive line was hit and miss this past season. At times, they got overpowered by stronger defensive fronts, but for the most part, they were actually not that bad. They were not terrible. I know Jameis Winston got sacked 47 times, but one of the reasons why he got sacked so many times was because he held on to the football way too long and did not take the easy completions. Jameis Winston at times held on to the ball way too long, and that resulted in sacks. Jameis Winston is a home run hitter. He's not a chain mover, and that at times affected the Buccaneers offense. And ultimately, I believe the Buccaneers offensive line is going to be better next season for 3 reasons. Number one, Tristan Wirfs. Tristan Wirfs, a very talented offensive lineman out of Iowa that the Buccaneers drafted. He's going to help that Buccaneers offensive line tremendously next year. Also, with better quarterback play, meaning when Tom Brady gets put in that system, he's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly. He's going to take the checkdowns. He's going to consistently be a chain mover and not just a big play threat down the field at the quarterback position. And ultimately, I think that if Bruce Arians makes enough adjustments, this Buccaneers offense can be much more efficient. At times, Bruce Arians called way too many vertical passing plays, and ultimately, the Buccaneers offensive line at times did not have the personnel needed in order to execute these plays. Now, we saw them execute these deep passing plays from time to time, no doubt. The Buccaneers offensive line is far from terrible, but at times, Bruce Arians' play calling exposed the offensive line for what it is. If Bruce Arians adjusts his play calling a little bit and calls some more play action plays and decides to work the intermediate routes and short routes a lot better, I believe you will see the offensive line improve. Now, as I mentioned, Jameis Winston has a lot of things that he needs to get better at. And I am much lower on Jameis Winston than I had been in the past after watching his entire season this past year. But I will say there is still some hope for Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in football. I believe he's still a starting quarterback in this league today. And again, for all the bad plays that Jameis Winston made, there were a lot of good plays as well. One play that I saw on film that sums up Jameis Winston pretty much in a nutshell is when he threw a 71-yard touchdown pass to Chris Godwin versus the Atlanta Falcons. Let's break down the play. Chris Godwin is going to run a deep go route toward the middle of the field. As you can see right here, Jameis Winston gets the snap, and he's going to fit the ball right in between those two defenders. And honestly, there is nothing the defender can do about that throw. Jameis is accurate, he's on time, and he shows off that arm talent that he has. We all know that Jameis Winston's arm strength is his best trait as an NFL quarterback. His ability to fit the ball into very tight windows is very lethal, I would say. And here are some plays showing on film of what I mean by Jameis Winston's ability to fit the ball into very tight windows. Versus the Houston Texans in the red zone, let's break down this play. Now, as you can see right here, there's actually 2 wide receivers that are open for touchdown passes if Jameis Winston decides to throw the football. But again, Jameis Winston decides to make things harder on himself, which I'm not surprised. But either way, he makes it work somehow. He rolls outside the pocket and fits the ball into a very tight window for a touchdown. Versus the 49ers, the same exact thing happens in the red zone. Things break down, no one really open. Jameis escapes and fits the ball into a tight window between a couple defenders for a big-time touchdown pass while throwing on the run. Let's take a look at this play versus the Falcons right here. You're going to see the offensive line kind of breaks down. Jameis Winston has to escape outside the pocket, and he throws a dart while getting hit to Mike Evans. Jameis Winston's ability to create off schedule is very lethal at times. As you can see right here, we're going to see another example. Nick Bosa, shake and bake, boom, go down the field, throwing the run, a dart down the field to Mike Evans. That's a perfect pinpoint, accurate throw by Jameis. Jameis Winston's ability to move inside and outside the pocket is very underrated. He at times can even run for a first down too. So there is some mobility to Jameis Winston's game that I like a lot. He's not the most mobile quarterback in the NFL, but again, he's got some wheels every now and then. He can run for a first down if need be. Let's take a look at this play versus the Colts that results in a touchdown in the red zone right here. So Jameis gets the snap, and this is just a pinpoint dart right here. He throws the football away from the defender where only his wide receiver can make a play. That is pinpoint accuracy right there. As I mentioned, Jameis Winston does struggle with accuracy, but that time right there, he puts it where only his wide receiver can get it. And like I said, Jameis Winston at times shows flashes of brilliance. And as I mentioned earlier, Jameis does struggle with throwing touch passes. I will admit this. But I see flashes of brilliance on film of him showing the capacity to become a guy that consistently can make these difficult throws as far as taking something off the football and throwing not just a fastball. Versus the Jaguars, that's a highly accurate throw. Puts it right in Mike Evans' breadbasket. Versus the Carolina Panthers, showing off the arm talent once again. And as you can see right here, he takes something off of it and he throws the ball with touch and accuracy. That's a beautifully thrown football right into Mike Evans' hands right there. I mean, we know Jameis Winston has a fastball. We know he can make all of the throws, but this has to be his bread and butter. He has to be more consistent as far as throwing the football with touch and accuracy and being more precise. He shows flashes of this. If Jameis improves upon these things, he will become a much better quarterback. So there you have it. The good and bad of Jameis Winston's 2019-20 NFL season. My biggest takeaway is that I am much lower on Jameis Winston than I have ever been. I've always kind of given Jameis Winston the benefit of the doubt. I've always kind of said the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive line is not the greatest. I've always kind of made excuses for him at times. And guess what? After diving into the film, I can't really defend Jameis Winston that much anymore. He has a lot of room to grow. He has a lot of things that he needs to work on to reach his full potential. We know Jameis is talented, but we cannot ignore what is seen on film. His inability to read defenses is alarming. His inability to throw with touch at times is alarming. He is wildly inaccurate. Bad mechanics, bad decision making, and bad turnovers are really concerning for me. Okay, because honestly, Jameis Winston, he makes a lot of mistakes that even some rookies do not make. And he's heading into his 6th NFL season. Can Jameis Winston fix these issues going forward? Maybe, but I don't know. My second biggest takeaway is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have really good weapons. And that Jameis Winston, honestly, he left a lot of plays on the table. I am convinced that if you put Aaron Rodgers in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform last year, he would have one of his best seasons ever. That's how good of offensive players the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have at the wide receiver and tight end position. Aaron Rodgers is perfect for that offense. And that brings me to Tom Brady. I believe that Tom Brady is going to dominate with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. His attention to detail is something that Jameis Winston just lacks and does not have. His ability to find the open man consistently, his ability to be efficient and not turn the football over, his ability to read defenses, his ability to be surgical in the pocket will make the Tampa Bay Buccaneers so much better of a football team this upcoming season. And in reality, you can say all you want about Jameis Winston's numbers. I gotta say, I'm not that impressed because I think that a lot of quarterbacks could have done what Jameis Winston did, and a lot of them could have done better because Jameis Winston left a lot of plays to be desired on the football field. He missed a lot of throws, and it really hurt their offense last year. And my other takeaway is that Bruce Arians needs to make better adjustments. At times, Bruce Arians' play calling affected Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, particularly their offensive line. But I will say, if Bruce Arians switches up his play calling just a little bit, I believe Tampa Bay has a chance to be a special team. But Bruce Arians has to make better adjustments if the Buccaneers want to improve their offensive line and get the most out of their team. And I will say, I haven't given up on Jameis Winston quite yet. For as much as I bashed Jameis Winston in this film analysis video, he has talent. He has one of the best arms in the NFL. And I will admit that 5,000 yards and 30-plus touchdown passes, there's something to be desired right there. Jameis Winston landed in the perfect situation by signing with the New Orleans Saints to back up Drew Brees this season. I don't think that Drew Brees is going to return to the Saints next year. So after this year, if Jameis Winston is about that life, if he really works on his craft, I do believe that he's in a perfect situation to succeed with the Saints. And if Jameis Winston cannot make it work with Sean Payton and that offensive personnel that the Saints have, I'm convinced he will never succeed and reach his full potential. But I will say that Jameis Winston is a hard worker. And I will say he's pretty darn talented. So I will not rule out Jameis Winston becoming a great quarterback with the New Orleans Saints, but he has to fix his biggest issues in order to do so. And that is my biggest takeaway from watching Jameis Winston and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on film from this past season. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I currently am a freshman there right now. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.